Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 7 Part 11 based on novel. So let's start. The scarlet flame that contained the black-colored fire seedlings began to spread out in a ring shape. All the huge boulders that were in the path of the extending flame were burned to nothing. Even the small pebbles on the ground were not spared. It appeared that even the dust on the ground had completely disappeared as well. At this moment, the gazes from the onlookers surrounding the rubble land froze. All the commotion disappeared and were replaced by a weird dead silence. Nirvana Demon Flame. Nirvana Tribulation. Following which, the frozen gazes shifted gradually and landed upon the youth that was standing in the arena with his head lowered. The onlookers' eyes were filled with an intense fear. Those who were able to make it here were considered rather capable. Passing through Nirvana Tribulation was an essential experience that everyone here had before. As such, they were extremely familiar with the energy undulation from a Nirvana Tribulation. Usually, no one would have such a big reaction to this kind of energy undulation. After all of them had experienced personally. However, it was a different situation now. That was because the person who was experiencing the Nirvana Tribulation now was not seated down quietly and fighting with the tribulation. Instead, he was battling a practitioner whose strength had reached 5 yuan Nirvana stage. Undergoing the Nirvana Tribulation in the midst of a battle. Everyone felt deeply absurd when they thought of this. Nirvana Tribulation was the most frightening experience for any Nirvana stage practitioner. Every time this tribulation arrived, everyone would immediately look for a secluded area, or seek protection from friends in hopes of battling it in peace. Most of the Nirvana stage practitioners did not die in the battles with their enemies, but rather they died during the Nirvana Tribulation. This goes to show just how terrifying the Nirvana Tribulation was. However, currently, they witnessed with their own eyes, someone who dared to undergo the Nirvana Tribulation in the midst of a battle. This created a mind-boggling sensation in their minds. Everyone was so shocked that they turned speechless. This fellow, Douai, and his counterpart's offense was slightly slowed down when they saw what happened. They finally understood why Lin Dong went all-out defensive in response to Songjin's attacks. It turned out that this fellow had used a huge part of his energy to deal with the Nirvana Tribulation in his body. Crazy. They could only use this word to describe Lin Dong's action. Previously, if he could not keep up with Songjin's attacks, he might lose control both externally and internally, and death would be imminent for him. Mu Honglin stared at the distant figure of Lin Dong and pursed her red luscious lips. This fellow had been creating miracles non-stop since the day they met. In contrast to Douai and his counterpart's amazement, the Shuiying duo's faces became solemn at this sight. Shock and horror were surging through their eye pupils. Clearly, they had been intimidated by Lin Dong's action. Phew, such a worrisome lad. Little Martin pursed his lips and heaved a sigh of relief. He did not worry much about Lin Dong's action. After being together for so many years, he clearly understood Lin Dong's prudent nature. This fellow liked to save up numerous trump cards. Sometimes, even little Martin was amazed by some of the trump cards he had. Previously, I have reminded you not to celebrate so early. It seems like you have not heeded my advice. Little Martin smirked as he casted a mocking look at Song Q, whose face was extremely gloomy. Humph, what's there to be proud of? Even if that lad successfully passes through the Nirvana Tribulation, he will at most be at the 4 yuan Nirvana stage. Song Q sneered. Little Martin curled the corners of his mouth slightly and did not reply Song Q. With a grasp of his palm, boundless energy gushed out and formed a powerful attack that surged towards Song Q. Upon seeing little Martin's incoming attack, Song Q did not dare to hesitate as well. He quickly activated his Yuan power to face the incoming attack. After the previous exchange, he could clearly sense the deadliness of little Martin. Even after he activated all the energy in his body, he merely stabilized his body. If he was to hesitate for a moment, he would be defeated utterly. Apparently, Lin Dong's party's morale increased significantly at this moment. As long as the most troublesome Song Devils could be impeded, they would have a high chance of winning this battle. Lin Dong's initially dangerous situation had unexpectedly taken a new turn. This bastard. Under the gazes from the audience, Songjin's face gradually became solemn and the smile on his face disappeared bit by bit. He was staring at Lin Dong sinisterly. He was just as shocked as everyone else. However, at the same time, he was extremely furious as well. He could not imagine Lin Dong could multitask and exchanging blows with him while undergoing the Nirvana tribulation at the same time. Even he did not dare to do such a thing. However, Lin Dong was actually able to do it. I cannot let this fellow passes through the Nirvana tribulation successfully. A glint of chilliness flashed across Songjin's eyes and his body surged forward abruptly. Violent yuan power gushed out and formed an enormous monstrous claw. Accompanied by an odd energy, the claw swiped at Lin Dong ruthlessly. It's too late to discover it now. Lin Dong raised his head slowly and revealed a smirk on his face. He reached out his palm before a streak of black-colored flame shot out and blasted towards that odd claw. As the streak of black-colored flame left Lin Dong's palm, a powerful wave of yuan power gushed out from his body as well. Even his aura seemed to expand immensely at this moment. Has he successfully passed through the Nirvana tribulation? How can it be so fast? Upon sensing the sharp rise in Lin Dong's aura, Songjin's face turned ashen in an instant. He could not believe that Lin Dong could pass through the fourth Nirvana tribulation in such a short time. Songjin did not really know much about Lin Dong. Therefore, he would not know how powerful Lin Dong's physical body was after the latter mastered the Green Heaven materialized dragon skill. Even though the fourth Nirvana tribulation was considerably tough, it did not deal a fatal blow to Lin Dong. With an exceptional determination and vigorous physical body, Lin Dong was able to endure through the Nirvana tribulation in a relatively short time. Lin Dong could feel the surging yuan power in his body. As compared to the past, the boundless energy within his body was numerous times stronger. By making such a risky move, Lin Dong was able to close up the gap between the two men's strength. You're right. It's indeed impossible to kill you with the strength of the 3 yuan Nirvana stage. However, I will be able to do so now. Lin Dong raised his head and looked smilingly at Songjin's ashen face. Then, he stretched his back and a sharp smile that contained chilliness appeared on his face. After the first exchange of blows, Lin Dong could sense the huge disparity between 3 yuan Nirvana stage and 5 yuan Nirvana stage. Even if he used other methods to compensate for this disparity, it was still extremely arduous to obtain a victory. Clearly, Lin Dong was not satisfied with such a victory. Therefore, after thinking through his strategy, he chose to take the risk and tackle the Nirvana tribulation. As long as he could reach the 4 yuan Nirvana stage successfully, Songjin's dominance would decrease significantly and rapidly. Arrogant lad, even if you reach the 4 yuan Nirvana stage, the gap between us is still immeasurable. Trying to challenge me by moving up in Nirvana stage? Do you really think I am those trash that you fought in the past? Songjin replied sinisterly as his eyes flickered. Lin Dong smiled. Then, he reached out his palm face up and bent it slightly. It was an obvious provocation. A piece of shit that is causing death. Songjin was enraged, resplendent golden light gushed out from his body in an instant. Following which, he stamped his right foot on the ground. Immediately, the earth trembled and numerous earth dragons that were imbued with violent yuan power erupted from the ground. They then formed a circle around Lin Dong and blasted towards the latter with an earth-shattering force. Upon seeing such powerful attack from the earth dragons, Lin Dong merely smiled. With a flip of his palm, the black metallic seal expanded instantaneously. An enormous black shadow descended from the sky and the berserking earth dragons exploded with a loud bang. Rumble. Mud and soil flew everywhere. The dust that pervaded the air dissipated rapidly after a short while. A huge metallic seal appeared and Lin Dong was standing atop it. This time around, Lin Dong did not show any signs of dodging Songjin's attack. Instead, he forcibly crushed the latter's attack with a resolute posture. Everyone could tell that the situation within the arena was changing gradually. The previous lopsided battle had turned around. Lin Dong stood atop the metallic seal while facing the wind. His gaze was fixated on Songjin. Traces of chilliness were seeping out from his eyes. Howl! Frantic yuan power was whizzing around Lin Dong's body. With a grasp of his palm, the heavenly crocodile bone spear appeared in his hand. He swiped his spear upward and pointed it at Songshan. All the yuan power in his body was spiraling around the bone spear, giving off a resplendent dazzle. Now, shall we have some fun? Meanwhile, atop the huge boulder, the corners of Lan Ying's mouth curled slightly as she saw the explosive expansion in Lin Dong's aura. She then turned to Qing Feng and said, "Do you believe my words now? Lin Dong is no pushover." Qing Feng nodded his head as a solemn look appeared on his face. He then muttered softly, "He is indeed not simple. The situation is starting to take a turn." However, Songshan is not an ordinary individual as well. It's still too early to tell who will emerge victorious. Majestic yuan power spiraled around the bone spear. The powerful energy that it contained made it tremble slightly. Waves of weird humming sound that caused the air to undulate constantly were given off by the spear as well. From Lin Dong's cold-blooded face, everyone could tell that he was about to erupt after being in the disadvantageous position for the previous exchanges. In front of Lin Dong, Songshan's face was terrifyingly somber. When Lin Dong passed through the nirvana tribulation in front of his eyes, he felt as if he was being played like a monkey. Since the day he entered the ancient battlefield, his journey had been smooth. After obtaining the inheritance from the 4 great demon sects, his already powerful strength was taken up another notch. From his perspective, only the leaders of the top 3 super empires in the entire ancient battlefield would be able to repress him. A mere individual like Lin Dong was not even worth his time and attention. However, it was also the case that the one whom he considered a mere individual dared to ridicule him in front of so many people. "If today I don't rip you apart into 1,000 pieces, what face will I Songshan have?" A sinister look rose upon Songshan's face. Torrential dark glows suddenly erupted from his body. These dark glows were extremely odd. As they wiggled, traces of bizarre energy seemed to emit from them. The energy was somewhat similar to the devouring ancestral symbol's devouring power. The only difference was that this energy was much more frigid and tyrannical. The dark glows congregated in Songshan's hands and materialized into a huge black-colored trident. There was a weird picture atop the trident. Indistinctly, it looked like an enormous beast that was roaring in the direction of the sky. Its huge mouth was extremely eye-grabbing. The beast looked as if it wanted to devour the entire heaven and earth. As the trident was formed, a roar that seemed to come from the ancient times resounded throughout the area. The picture on the trident seemed to come to life as it started to wiggle and devour the yuan power between the heaven and earth continuously. "Lin Dong, I will show you what Douai sect's inheritance is like." Songshan snarled in a low voice as killer intent gushed through his eyes. With a jolt of his body, a shadow surged forward. With a swish, the shadow appeared before Lin Dong in a ghost-like manner. The trident in his hands brought upon a torrential dark glow that engulfed Lin Dong like a deathly black hole. The torrential black glow was reflected in Lin Dong's eyes. However, he did not show any signs of dodging even when he faced such a powerful attack from Songshan. With a glint of chilliness in his eyes, he jerked the bone spear in his hands. An ancient hissing sound broke out from the spear and a chilling glow ripped through the air. That kind of chilliness created eerie spear sparkles at the tip of the spear. The spear sparkles spread out like the blossoming of a flower. However, a chilling killer intent was concealed within that magnificence. As the spear sparkles formed and ripped through the air, they collided ferociously with the violent trident. Clang! Accompanied by flame and sparks, a crisp sound resounded through the air. At this moment, a ripple broke out in the formless air and extended in all directions with a terrifying speed. Horrifying gales swept across the area. Without any changes in his facial expression, Lin Dong jerked the bone spear in his hands again. An explosion of spear sparkles broke out and they hovered in the air like fallen flower petals. Like a bunch of exceptionally sharp daggers, they then pierced toward Songshan's vital points with an extreme speed. This unforeseen event was rather sudden. Even Songshan was stunned by this sight. By the time he returned to his senses, the deadly aura had reached him. Humph! Even though Songjun was in a dire straits, he did not show any signs of panicking. Instead, he gave a sarcastic snort. Dark glow surged through his body and oddly formed a black-colored huge mouth on his chest. A terrifying swallowing force erupted from the black mouth and completely swallowed the deadly spear sparkles. The Douai beast devours all living things in the heaven and earth. Even though your attack is powerful, it's useless against me. Ha ha. Songjun laughed heartily towards the sky. Soon after, with a glint of chilliness in Songjun's eyes, the black glow of the trident in his hands began to dance and blasted in the direction of Lin Dong. Swallowing power. Lin Dong brandished the bone spear in his arms and warded off Songjun's attack. His eyes froze slightly. Reportedly, the Douai beast possessed a kind of terrifying swallowing power. There was nothing in the heaven and earth that it could not swallow. From a different perspective, its swallowing power was somewhat similar to the devouring ancestral symbol's devouring power. However, the only swallowing power could do is to swallow. From a different perspective, it was not as powerful as the devouring power. Of course, there was nothing strange about this fact. After all, devouring power was bestowed by the devouring ancestral symbol. And the devouring ancestral symbol was the one of the 8 great ancestral symbols between the heaven and earth. Even though the Douai beast was rather ancient and iconic, it was still considerably weaker than the devouring ancestral symbol. Ha ha, Lin Dong, your strength will be continuously swallowed by the Douai beast during the battle with me. The more you fight me, the weaker you get. How are you going to challenge them? The trident in Songjun's hands became an intense dark glow and engulfed Lin Dong. Every time it made contact with Lin Dong's bone spear, the swallowing power would surge and swallowed some of the yuan power that was imbued within the spear. If the situation was to carry on, Lin Dong's yuan power would be lesser and lesser. Eventually, he would be in a dire straits. However, this would happen if it was any other ordinary individual that was fighting Songjun. Clearly, Lin Dong did not belong to this category of individuals. It was rather childish to display the so-called swallowing power in front of Lin Dong, who actually possessed the devouring power. Therefore, a ridiculous smile appeared on Lin Dong's face when he heard Songjun's mocking comment. Songjun was enraged when he saw Lin Dong's smile. Just as he was about to intensify his attack, his facial expression suddenly changed. That was because he could sense the dark energy that shrouded his trident was disappearing trace by trace. As the energy that shrouded his trident disappeared, Lin Dong looked as if he had consumed steroids and his attack became extremely ferocious all of a sudden. It was as if the energy that Songjun lost had been transferred to Lin Dong. How can this be? Songjun's facial expression changed drastically. Clenching his teeth, he quickly activated his swallowing power and tried to swallow Lin Dong's power. However, this time around, the result let him down. Lin Dong's yuan power seemed to be protected by something that completely neglected his swallowing power. The most shocking thing was when his swallowing power made contact with Lin Dong's yuan power, the swallowing power was not only unsuccessful in swallowing the yuan power, but also it was disappearing rapidly trace by trace. There's something wrong with this fellow. Songjun shot a glance at the mocking look on Lin Dong's face and a tinge of chilliness crept up the former's back. He could not understand what Lin Dong had done exactly, but he knew this weird occurrence definitely had something to do with the latter. It should be the inheritance that he obtained from the Green Dragon Temple. However, there definitely shouldn't be any artifact that could give him such a weird power in the Green Dragon Temple. Damn it, what trick is he exactly resorting to? Songjun's eyes were flickering. After a moment, he still could not figure it out. He could only clench his teeth and retreat helplessly. Numerous gazes from the onlookers around the rubble land were focused at the retreating Songjun. Soft whispers then broke out abruptly from the onlookers. Clearly, this was due to the obvious fact that Songjun was escaping from Lin Dong's fearsome offense. Lad, don't you be pleased with yourself so early. Songjun retreated. His facial expression became increasingly sinister. Since his slow and steady strategy did not work, he was going to use an absolute offense that could deliver instant victory. Torrential weird dark glow pour out continuously from Songjun's body. In a blink of an eye, half the sky was engulfed in darkness. That kind of sun-blotting sky appeared rather terrifying. Songjun was infuriated. Everyone could tell from this scene that Songjun was truly infuriated by Lin Dong. Raw? Dark glow was wiggling frantically around Songjun's body. Finally, under the numerous gazes from the onlookers, the dark glow materialized into a gigantic ancient pitch-black beast. The body of the beast appeared extremely odd. The color of its entire body was pitch black and its nose could not be seen at all. Only its enormous pitch-black mouth was extremely eye-catching. As this ancient beast appeared, a horrifying swallowing force erupted from its mouth. At this moment, a tumult of huge winds broke across the area. Waves of yuan power between the heaven and earth were being swallowed by it. This is. Numerous dumbstruck gazes were focused at the black-colored beast. Gasps broke out among the onlookers around the rubble land. Douai spirit. The large black beast carried a monstrous-like fierceness as it arose in the sky. Waves after waves of black ripples spread apart, causing the surrounding yuan power to fluctuate intensely. Fierce beast Douai? Numerous eyes contained traces of shock when they saw that giant black beast in the sky. Its enormous black hole-like mouth was extremely eye-catching. It is rumored that its huge mouth could swallow everything in this world. Anything that lands within it would forever sink into darkness. Many people had only heard of this renowned fearsome beast that existed in prehistoric times and had never saw it. Hence, when they saw that Songjun was actually able to summon the Douai fierce spirit, everyone felt unusually shocked. From the Douai fierce spirit, they could sense a shockingly fierce and violent strength. Songjun stood on top of the large head of that Douai fierce spirit. His gaze contained a cold smile as he looked down at Lin Dong. The Douai fierce spirit that he had summoned was not merely an illusionary thing. Instead, it genuinely possessed a trace of Douai fierce beast aura. Although this aura became extremely faint with the flow of time, in Songjun's opinion, it was clearly sufficient to deal with Lin Dong. Brat, I will let you taste what is called despair. Songjun smiled viciously. Immediately, his eyes completely became dense as his hand seal changed in a lightning-like fashion. Immediately, two scarlet-red appeared on Taoqia's fierce beast dark body. Finally, its eyes were locked onto Lin Dong. Lin Dong's expression changed slightly when its two scarlet eyes locked onto him. He could sense the surrounding natural yuan power beginning to dissipate at this moment. That Douai fierce spirit had actually swallowed all the surrounding yuan power. By doing so, even if Lin Dong used martial arts, its strength would weaken due to the lack of natural yuan power around him. Skilled indeed. Lin Dong softly muttered himself. Douai sect was indeed worthy of being the leader of the four great demon sects. The so-called swallowing strength was actually this overbearing. If it was an ordinary person, that person would definitely feel restrained in this kind of environment and end up falling into a disadvantage in a fight. Howl. The Douai fierce spirit howled towards the sky. Black ripples crazily emerged from within its black hole-like big mouth. A suction force surged out before the large rocks and trees around were immediately uprooted. Finally, they were all absorbed until no traces of them remained. Those surrounding observers had a drastic change in expression upon seeing this indiscriminate attack. Their bodies hurriedly withdrew, fearing that they would be absorbed into the Douai fierce spirit's large mouth. Lanying and Fengqing had somewhat grave expressions as they stood on a large rock and looked at the enormous Douai fierce spirit that had been formed. Even they could sense a dangerous aura from the latter's enormous body. Bang! The large body of the Douai fierce spirit suddenly stomped on the ground and rose. The land rumbled and its large body immediately transformed into an enormous black light pillar that descended from the sky, covering 100 feet radius around Lin Dong. The black light pillar wiggled in a wild manner. Finally, it directly transformed into an incomparably enormous large mouth. The enormous mouth was just like a black hole of unfathomable depth, causing one to feel fearful when looking at it. Daozong fierce spirit, heavenly swallowing mouth. Songjun cried out ferociously towards the sky while a rich savage expression surged up his face. He looked at Lin Dong, who was already locked onto by Douai before a cruel expression appeared in his eyes. Lin Dong. Once you are swallowed by the Douai fierce spirit, you will forever descend into its stomach of darkness. At that time, you will suffer a fate worse than death. A vast and mighty pressure fell from the sky. It appeared lifelike as it covered a hundreds of feet radius around Lin Dong. All the large rocks within this area were forcefully pressured into powder, and even the entire area had been forcefully pressured until it caved in by half a foot. Numerous cracked lines began to wildly spread out in every direction like a spider web. Lin Dong's eyes were a little solemn as he stared at the dark, huge mouth that had basically blocked off all of his retreat paths. There appeared to be a black hole filled with a cold and strange darkness hidden within its enormous mouth. The bone spear within Lin Dong's hand flew out explosively before spear after images permeated the sky. Finally, they became like a storm as they struck at the enormous mouth. However, these seemingly sharp spear after images were directly swallowed the instant they came into contact with the dark, huge mouth, and they did not even affect it at all. It was just like a bug's arm trying to stop a car. Lin Dong's eyes immediately narrowed upon seeing this scene. Ha ha, what a naive fellow. Songjin laughed out loud. Right now, it looked like victory was in grasp. After all, even 5 Yuan Nirvana stage experts had an unusually difficult time defending against his heaven-swallowing mouth. Therefore, how could Lin Dong block it with just the strength of his 4 Yuan Nirvana stage? It's over. The dark, huge mouth whizzed down. Finally, it looked just like black ink was pouring down. It directly engulfed Lin Dong in front of numerous horrified eyes. The strange black ink poured down and a large deep pit quietly appeared on the ground within 100 feet radius from where Lin Dong stood. Lin Dong and that ground had all disappeared at this moment. Has he been swallowed? Quite a number of individuals inhaled a breath of cold air upon seeing the pouring black ink and the enormous pit on the ground. It appeared as though nothing could exist amidst the black light of the Douai fierce beast swallowing strength. Songjin's body flashed and appeared in the air above the large pit. His eyes revealed a cold smile as he looked at the black-colored light cluster that was continuously wiggling. Regardless of what it was, as long as it was swallowed into its dark stomach, there was no way it could escape. Lin Dong would be digested at that place until nothing remained. The battle is over. Songjin stretched his lazy waist. His warm smile from before once again appeared on his face. With Lin Dong's death, it was likely that the morale on their side would also surge greatly. Seems like they would be the ones who will have the last laugh in this battle. Has Lin Dong been finished off? Qing Feng was a little surprised as he looked at the wiggling black-colored light cluster and asked. Lin Ying knitted her eyebrows. She was clearly aware of just how powerful the Douai fierce beast that Songjin had unleashed was. Moreover, the most frightening thing of the Douai fierce beast was its swallowing ability. Anything that was swallowed by its mouth would definitely not come out alive. Although the Douai fierce spirit that Songjin had summoned merely had a trace of the original form's aura, it was still incomparably frightening. He should be. Lin Ying was quiet for a moment. She was just about to speak when her eyes suddenly shrunk. Her gaze immediately turned towards the cluster of black light and muttered, "Not finished off." Boom! At the moment Lin Ying's eyes were focusing intently on it, the black light cluster that was wiggling strangely suddenly began to tremble intensely. Ripples continuously spread on its surface. It was as though a great change had occurred. Songjin also experienced a drastic change in expression because of this scene. The smile on his face swiftly disappeared. Taking its place was a dense, shocked expression. He was simply unable to believe that Lin Dong would actually be able to block the terrifying swallowing strength of the fierce beast Douai. However, regardless of how much disbelief he felt, the subsequent scene caused a paleness to surge up his face. The black light cluster wiggled swiftly and began to shrink with a speed visible to the naked eye before disappearing. That manner was as though its energy was being forcefully snatched away by something. Songjin's face trembled upon seeing this. This black light was the inheritance that he had obtained from the Douai sect. He had relied on this to unleash the swallowing strength of the fierce beast Douai. If it was to disappear in this baffling manner, he would suffer a heavy blow. Hence, he quickly refocused his mind in an attempt to retrieve that black light. However, just as he was about to act, his expression turned even uglier. This was because he discovered that the connection between him and the black light was actually completely severed. What is the matter? A drop of cold perspiration dripped down from Songjin's forehead. This strange scene had clearly exceeded his expectations. The black light also grew increasingly dim when Songjin's expression changed. Immediately, a human figure slowly appeared within that black light. The rays of black light converged. Finally, they completely fell into the hands of that human figure. Lin Dong. Songjin looked at the human figure that surfaced within the black light. His eyes shrunk into the size of a pinhole almost instantly. A furious and shocked emotion surged into his voice. He could not believe that not only was Lin Dong not digested by the swallowing strength of the fierce beast Douai, but he had instead absorbed that swallowing strength into his body. This scene really caused Songjin to feel as though his whole body was drenched in cold perspiration. Lin Dong, who was below, also raised his head in front of Songjin's shocked eyes, before he smiled at the latter. However, his white glittering teeth caused Songjin to feel a chillness surge up from under his feet. Douai lives up to its reputation. It tastes quite good. This video will end here.